And what's the truth with the departure of Max Kellerman from First Take?
Well, the rumor's accurate in terms of me wanting him off the show. Let's get that out the way. I know this audience. I know what they're looking for. I know what they need, et cetera, et cetera. At some point, you're going to do what you need to do or you don't. And if you don't do what you need to do, I'm going to get somebody who will. ESPN made the decision that they made. They elected to keep me on First Take instead of Max Kellerman.
Stephen A., the entertainer, had to meet Max Kellerman, the educator. And boy, that was a class that had a different lesson plan.
What happens when a coworker has more power with your bosses than you do? Even worse, you and that coworker disagree on how to do your jobs. How do you handle that? Max Kellerman was faced with exactly this situation during his 5 years on First Take.
I knew that we together, as far as I was concerned, was not a great partnership anymore. And that was something that needed to change. I gave my recommendation. They ask it, I tell it. Every single year when the season, when the NBA season comes to an end, the bosses ask me where I stand. And for the last 3 years, I said, this is where I stood. Not just that, I also told Max that.
Right. And how did Max react to that?
He disagreed with me. And he disagreed with me 3 years ago. He disagreed 2 years ago. He disagreed this time. We've always understood where we stand with each other.
Intentionally or otherwise, when you demonstrate abilities greater than someone with more power than you professionally, it is not likely to go your way. Max Kellerman did exactly this, and he was removed from a high-profile ESPN show for his exceptional abilities to debate his esteemed co-host with nuance rather than bombast. Max was not always right. Max was not always the best voice on a given topic. He is, however, a talented media personality with informed opinions. His ability to talk intelligently about several sports made him the ideal replacement for the departing Skip Bayless on First Take. Until the show's primary personality, Stephen A. Smith, decided it did not make sense any longer.
I didn't like working with him, man. It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it.
Welcome back to Unlikely Success, where we want to inspire you by highlighting the success of others. Today, we're going to dive into Max Kellerman's removal from First Take and how he veered from Stephen A.'s formula. Let's start with a bit of background on what led to Max's departure. In 2016, Skip Bayless left ESPN for rival FS1, starting his own talk show, Undisputed. Stephen A. Smith, for his part, was left without a daily adversary, and he went searching for a replacement. He found Max Kellerman, a boxing historian who had worked on several ESPN radio and television programs, as well as being part of other stops on television networks. Most notably, as a voice of HBO boxing coverage, the jump to First Take could be categorized as the biggest opportunity of Max's career. When he joined the show, it was immediately obvious Max was vastly different from Skip Bayless. His takes were nuanced and less over the top than the previous ones that Skip presented. Max had his own outlandish moments, but few can rival Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith in that arena. So Max instead opted for his own path. As he ventured down this path, there was a growing chemistry issue on the show developing on and off screen.
Are you trying to tick me off, Max Kellerman? Are you trying to tick me off?
That's just a happy byproduct.
Are you going with this Sam Hinkie thing in the
That
process
is
again?
a happy
I'm not in the
byproduct.
mood, Max. I'm
It's
not
not
in the
my
mood.
intention, but if
yes,
you-
it is.
but if it
Yes,
does,
you're
I'm
doing
happy
this to mess
about
with
it.
me. You're doing this to mess with me. That's why he's doing this, Jay. He's doing this because he knows what the subject does to me.
Max was changing the show's formula, and it was not sitting well with the show star, Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. has been making the rounds for a couple of years now saying, yeah, I forced Max off the show. I didn't want to do the show with him. It's not personal. He's a nice man, but I don't want to do the show with somebody who wants to do a nuanced show. I want to do argument television, and that's not what Max Kellerman wanted to do.
Stephen A.'s preference and vision was to continue the trajectory of an over-the-top debate show, like the past. And it became apparent Stephen A. was growing frustrated with Max, being unwilling to match his energy. The most infamous moment and possible catalyst for the issues leading to Max's removal was when T.O. said this.
Like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems
blacker than you, Stephen A.
The comment was very disrespectful to Stephen A. Smith, and it clearly did not sit well with him. Max, now through no fault of his own, was in an awkward position. After several attempts to remove Max from First Take, Stephen A. would get his wish in 2021.
Originally, when we talked, it was supposed to be a 3-year run, and the next thing you know, it's a 5-year run, and we've been number one every single year, and you had an awful lot to do with that. I wanted to thank you for your contribution to the show.
Do you think it was appropriate for Stephen A. to ask for Max to be removed?
I don't know.
In my opinion, this is a gray area at best. First Take is definitely Stephen A.'s show, but going to management, asking to change your partner, does not sit well with me ethically. He has compared this to trades in the NBA, but I cannot help but wonder, how would he feel if the roles were reversed?
But at the end of the day, it was all business to me. And it was about, look, man, I'm trying to win. And I don't believe I can win with you. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It means we don't work.
ESPN announced that Kellerman was moving to a separate television show and receiving a radio show, while Stephen A. would remain on First Take. More recently, Max was part of the 2023 layoffs from ESPN. He was one of the bigger names laid off, and it would stir up questions around his First Take departure. Kellerman has not spoken publicly about the situation from what I could find, but on his behalf, Marcellus Wiley, a close friend of Max's, did speak publicly about the situation and had this to say.
What ended up happening is Max kept fighting the resistance, but that headwind was strong. What was worse is how he was starting to get treated. On air, not off air. On air, we all saw it. Stephen A. was starting to act out how he didn't like how Max was winning those conversations, how Max was not going with the flow. And then he makes comments like this: you need to do what you need to do, or else I'm going to get someone else.
Stephen A. continues to outline that this was never personal, just business. But the downfall of Kellerman at ESPN started with this removal.
Max Kellerman got morning radio and had his own afternoon show and didn't lose a dime.
He was moved to a lower profile television show and a radio show, so he didn't lose any pay, but the optics led the public to view the move as a demotion. In Stephen A.'s defense, First Take has achieved all-time high ratings during 2023, lending credibility to his stance.
This was not a winning formula, which to this day I stand by. Which, by the way, has been proven correct, because we've never enjoyed more success than we're enjoying right now.
He also has maintained his position when the ratings dropped after the change during late 2021 and early 2022. His vision for the show has remained the same throughout. Still, the most powerful personality at a network asking several times for you to be removed from their show cannot leave management with a great feeling.
When I went upstairs to management, my exact words were, look, if he's that important to you, give him First Take.
Kellerman is a talented media personality, and his ability helped him gain a position on First Take. He underestimated Stephen A.'s commitment to his vision for First Take. His different brand of takes on a show built by being brash, loud, and opinionated left the powerful Smith unwilling to continue the partnership. The show's ratings never dipped, but they also didn't show enough growth for Max to fight back and keep his position.
I thought the show was stale. I thought that we had flatlined when it came to the public at large, and I'm trying to win.
Max had to be aware of the power Stephen A. Smith has at ESPN, and he chose to stay his course anyways. His refusal to change his style cost him a job, but staying true to himself kept Kellerman's brand pure. Do you think Max should have altered his on-air personality? Would First Take have been more successful if he had? This has been The Unlikely Success.